Good Thursday to you, everybody in COM 710. Happy week one. How's it going? Everybody settling in? Okay, I wanted to make a really quick video for you to let you know that your next assignment is up in Blackboard over in the assignment folder. Now, just as a quick reminder for this week, make sure that you complete the syllabus quiz because that's your participation quiz. And I have to have you do it by the end of this week. That is no later than Sunday night at 11:59 Eastern Daylight Time. So that's, Sunday the 15th. Okay. And you need that to be counted as in the class and participating in the class. Okay. So when this isn't a quiz that you need to study for, and you just pull up the syllabus and you finish it. All right. But that aside, over in the assignment folder for this week, first, there's your class presentation sheet. All right, everybody is assigned a chapter from Golan et al. That I want you to make a presentation for. Instructions are very clear. And then secondly is the assignment sheet for the first part of your research paper that you'll do this semester. Let me explain. Unlike many classes that you take, I like to do research papers just a little bit differently. I like to split them into two parts and have you do a part one and then turn it in, and then I grade it and give you some feedback. And then you do a part two, excuse me, and you turn it in and I grade it. The reason that I do this, sort of, the overarching reason, is that I found that the sort of standard term semester paper design made it hard for me to give you any meaningful feedback. When you consider, let's say, there's 20 to 30 people per class, that's pretty normal. And a research paper runs, 20, 25 pages. Sometimes people write over 30 pages. So to grade, meaningfully evaluate, and communicate, 30 times 25 or 20, and now we're into the thousands of pages, plus get all the other grading for the class, and then get the grades in for the registrar's office. And they're very inflexible about that deadline with good reason. It really didn't leave much room for back and forth. And I don't know about you, but when I took courses as an undergraduate and a graduate, I always said that I would go back and look at what happened in the class, and way too busy. I had other classes coming up. I had work, whether it was the summer, I had to have a full-time job. I just didn't get around to going back and reviewing everything that was said. And even if I did, the amount that was said, by way of feedback to me on my paper, was fairly small because the instructors had a pile, like so big that they were trying to grade. Okay, so here's my approach to solving that problem. Instead of having everything due at the end of the semester, I ask you to divide your research paper into two parts. So over in the assignment folder of Blackboard is the instruction sheet for part one. So what I want you to do is to go over, download that sheet, print it out, and read it very carefully. Okay? The entire paper is worth 400 points. So 40% of your grade. Pay attention to this. We're going to split it into two. Part one is worth 100 points. Part two is worth 300 points. Part one, that's the one that's posted there, is due February 20th. Okay. And part two, that will come next. And I'll post that sheet, once you get into part one. Will be due at the back end of the semester, April 23rd. All right. For part one, read the sheet carefully, because what I want you to do is to produce a finalized version. No draft work, please. No draft work, please. Let me say it a third time. No draft work, please. Of your introduction, your literature review, and then your methodology section. That is the first part in which you clearly lay out what's the problem? What do you want to research? Why? How are you going to, go about this a little bit? Because you get into that more in your methodology section. Part number two, your literature review. Here you begin to discuss the current academic conversation around the topic. Now, please note that a literature review is not the same as an annotated bibliography. And if there's any ambiguity in your mind as to what the one is as opposed to the other, look it up on the sheet. So if you open it up digitally, I think you can just probably click on this. I've given you a link to an online resource at Purdue University called Purdue OWL. And there you will find all kinds of examples of papers, of discussions of what goes into an abstract, what goes into an introduction, what goes into a literature review. I'll be honest, I'm less concerned with all the formatting instructions, and you get a lot of that from places like Purdue because they spent a lot of time with the APA style manual. Okay, I am not going to be measuring how far over from the margin your title is. All right, somebody will, but not me. All right, I am more concerned, and you should be more concerned, that in this first draft, all right, that you write clearly, that you write coherently, that you write logically, that you research and develop that well, that the introduction is an introduction, that is, as a research paper. The literature review is a literature review as a research paper, and the methodology is a methodology section as a research paper. Okay? So when you turn it in, towards the end of February, here's what will happen. I will grade it carefully. I'll give you a score out of 100 points. I'll give it back to you with some very detailed suggestions about, do more of this, do less of this, never do this, always do that sort of thing. Okay? Then you'll take that and do part 2. And part 2 is you're going to actually execute on your methodology. You're going to tell me what the conclusions are. You're going to write it up, then you'll write an abstract. But again, I'll post the paper for part 2 later. I want you to focus on part 1. I will grade then the entire paper. So you're not doing 2 papers, you're doing 1 paper in 2 parts. I'll grade the entire paper. And if you make the changes that I lay out in part 1, right, I will go back and change the score if it goes up. I'll never take your score down if it goes up following the completed paper, that is parts 1 and 2 together. Okay, so the completed paper, parts 1 and 2 together, will be worth 300 points. The first part will be worth 100 points. And the 100 points, that's an easy scale to remember. 90, 80, 70, 60 will give you an idea as to about where you're at. A, B, C, hope not C, D, in relationship to all of these key skills: research, writing, understanding of methodology. If you have a hypothesis or a research question, how do you write a hypothesis? What are the standard elements of a hypothesis in the social sciences as opposed to a research question? All of that stuff. That'll give you feedback. And if you need to fix it, then if you fix it when the final paper is finished, I change the grade. So let's just say hypothetically that you get a 70 out of 100. Yikes. On part 1. All right. I'll tell you exactly why the score is the score. And then when you do the second part and present the finished final paper, if you make those changes both in part 1 and then throughout the rest of the paper, and let's say that you score, an 89 percentile, I'll go back and give you the 89, change the score of 70 to 89. So that goes up, and that will, of course, help your total grade in the class. Okay, does that make sense? And if you have any questions about that, please feel free to email me or ring me up during my office hours. All right. Just a couple of really quick things about this paper assignment. You are allowed to work in groups if you like. If you wanna do some cooperative research, which goes on a lot in academics, go ahead. You can work with as many as 3 people. You don't have to. That's your choice. And then secondly, I want you to design a paper that would be suitable to submit to either an academic journal or a conference. Now, I do not require that you attend a conference, and I do not require that you actually submit the paper to the journal. Although I strongly encourage you to, and I'll be giving you a link. There's a journal that some people in the communication department have started here at Regent that you can submit work to. And it's very good to get published if you're on an academic career track. Okay. So in terms of the formatting of the final paper, overwhelmingly journals and conferences are going to ask for APA. I think it's what, 8th edition we're up now formatting. But if there's anything particular about the formatting that they want, then that's how you format your paper. And at the very end of the paper, the end of part 2, the very end of the semester, when you turn it in, you'll embed the link of the conference or of the journal that you would submit this paper to. Now, I should tell you that I've had people that have taken this class, done this assignment, submitted their paper, and had it accepted and published. Okay, so that possibility is out there, and I strongly encourage you to take advantage of it and look into it. All right, everybody, please make sure to get the quiz done if you haven't already. Over in the assignment sheet are 2 things that should occupy your attention. Number 1, the class presentation sheets. This is you reading a chapter from Golan et al. And then making a presentation of this to give you practice if you go to a conference or you want to go into teaching. Many of you are already there, so this will be just like bam. And then your research design sheet for your research paper. All right, if you have any questions, please reach out to me, email, call me during my office hours. And otherwise, have a fantastic rest of the week, and I will see you on Blackboard. God bless. Bye-bye.